sea. Just follow me, and you'll be North Pole Town.
East, north, northeast,
By south, southwest, follow all the buttons on your daddy's vest.
go by car,
Or go by ski, you'll be standing at the lollipop tree. Where are all the toys assembled? Where do all the wheels go round? Jingle bells, candy smells, just do the right face, you'll be a light face, you'll be in North Pole Town.
everyone believes it's Santa, everybody knows it's true.
That he lives, and he gives good things to me and you. Santa is the Christmas spirit.
This is a Whispering Adirondacks Radio special feature presentation. Please stay tuned at the end of the interview for an audio and video clip of a preview of the documentary. This is Whispering Adirondacks Radio on Adirondack Attractions and Adirondack Lifestyle and Living. Today on the program, we have with us two very talented and wonderful people who are phoning in from 6 hours south of the North Pole in New York City to talk about their new documentary titled North Pole, New York Documentary. Okay, so today I'm going to have them introduce themselves. Go ahead.
So I'm Allie Cotterill, and I'm the director of the documentary North Pole, New York. I'm Krista Orth, the producer of the documentary North Pole, New York.
All right, well, welcome to the program. Of course, you're listening to Whispering Adirondacks Radio. You guys are really close to having your film ready for the public to see.
So, we started working on this project in 2012, and I think we met you right around then, like 2013, 2014. And we met you with Julie.
Yes.
We started filming, and we filmed for a couple of years. We would go in the summer and in the winter. And we filmed at the Spanish workshop. We also filmed with a lot of people in town, learned a lot about the other parks in the area. And then we came back and started editing in 2016. And we just finished editing, and now we're online doing our Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign to raise money to finish the film. And once we raise that, we'll be able to send it out and release it.
Absolutely.
So that's super exciting.
Yes, it is very exciting. I've seen a small clip of the film when you guys did the event in Upper J at the old church. And it was very, very interesting to watch because, sometimes you have something envisioned in your head how it's going to look, and then it's 10 times better.
Oh, that's like the best thing we could hear. Thank you so much.
The thing that I really loved about it, and I think it was only like a 3 or 4 minute clip, if my memory serves me correctly, I loved how anytime a name or a location came onto the film, the snowflakes would come across.
Oh, yeah. When everyone's name gets written on, it gets written on kind of like magically with snowflakes.
Yes, and it was great to see that because it's a small thing, but it adds to the film, and it gives you the feeling that it is magical because the pole really is.
It is. This is Krista now, and we really wanted, we want everything about the film to reflect the beauty of the Adirondacks and how special and magical Santa's workshop is. So we've been taking great care to pay attention to those kinds of details. And when we were, designing the graphics for the film, including the captions that you're just talking about, we thought, wouldn't it be fun to have the captions "snow on," "glow in the snow"? So we worked with an animator to make that happen, and he did a really good job. I think it does, like you said, I think it does help to capture the magic of Santa's workshop, and really bring the winter season that the Adirondacks experiences so strongly for so many months to the rest of the film, even though much of the film takes place in the summer, because that is a busy season for Santa's workshop.
Absolutely, and it at that time of the year, in the summertime, is the downtime for Santa and his elves, so he can have visitors come and say hi and tell him what they want for Christmas and get to see the reindeer while they're relaxing on their summer break. So it's you have to experience the pole in all seasons, and I know I've seen you up here several times, kind of like almost the mail, sun, storm, or snow, hail. You're here to film at the pole. So I guess we could, for anyone that doesn't know about the North Pole, the history, it goes back quite a few years. I believe it opened in 1949.
Yeah.
The design. Yeah, and the designers, the idea of it was Charlie Rice's father, correct?
It was Bob Rice's father, Julian. Yeah. Okay,
Bob's father. Yes. He ended up getting the small local artist Arto Monaco involved in designing all the buildings and basically the park itself.
Yeah, basically, like the way that we heard it was like, Julian was driving back up to his home in the Adirondacks, and his youngest daughter, Patty, was in the car, and she's like, tell me a story, and it was Christmas time, and so he told her this story about this baby bear that gets lost in the forest and stumbles upon Santa's summer home. And she was like, I want to go there, and that's kind of where the seed was planted, for Julian Rice to make this sort of magical Santa summer home. And then the part that you're saying, he was like, well, I have to find an artist that can design this. And that's where Arto Monaco came on. Who, of course, went on to design, the Land of Make-Believe and all these other places.
Yeah, Arto designed the North Pole. He designed his own theme park, the Land of Make-Believe, which was only 6 miles from the North Pole.
Right.
And he designed Old MacDonald's Farm, which was in Lake Placid, which is only about, I think, 11 or 12 miles from the location of the pole, along with several other parks. And the picture that really is amazing to see is once the pole was built, you have Arto and Mr. Rice and the contractor all in in Santa's house, dressed as elves.
So we have that picture in the movie. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
The original founder's photo. I love that picture. It's the 3 of them, and of course Santa, who's sort of like the, you could say sort of the 4th founder in a way.
Yeah.
An important part of the puzzle.
Yeah, it really is, and that's something that a lot of places or businesses don't do anymore, is a photo like that. So to have that to reference and to see is really amazing, because those were the guys that basically got everything off the ground and made it happen.
And I will say, as filmmakers, that was one of the most amazing things, is that they took so many publicity photos in the early years. They took publicity film in the 50s, 35 millimeter film that has been preserved. And so there's an amazing archive, to pull from, to make a movie. And on top of that, when we started making it, people started getting in touch with us. People have taken home movies there since the 50s. So they started saying, we have this whole movie. And so we unearthed sort of all this footage of a lot of Santa's Workshop, but also some of the other local parks. And so a lot of that has never been seen before that's in our movie. So we're really excited for people to see that.
Yeah,
And the stuff that didn't make the movie is going to be on our DVD as the bonus features.
Oh,
So
that's
pretty cool.
yeah, that is great, because I mean, that's something that you know, if it's somebody's, like you said, home footage, it's only them that have seen it.
Yeah.
So for
Several people sent us like a film reel in the mail that they were like, this has been in the attic for 50 years. You know.
Wow.
It was amazing. They were so excited to see it. You know, when we converted it to digital for them, and yeah, so it's like all this new stuff, and it was really awesome.
That's the North Pole magic for you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I did the mail in Wilmington for several years.
Oh yeah.
And we handled all the mail that went to Santa's workshop.
Oh, no way.
And of course, Christmas time was always very busy. We would have to make a trip from the post office all the way to the pole, all on its own.
Okay.
Because we had so much mail going in for Santa, letters to Santa, that the vehicle would be full. And it always boggled me that how some of the letters got to us to deliver, because there was no stamp on them. There was no return.
Right.
There was no return address. There wasn't even an actual address to send it to. All the envelope said was to Santa.
It's so interesting that you say that, Chris, because that's actually the first scene of the movie. We talk about that.
Ah.
So the very first scene of the movie, we talk about that, like, because, you know, anywhere in this area, anyone that sends a letter to Santa, it would just end up there. And so there are all sorts of them, and like, yeah, so we talk about that actually in the very first scene of the movie.
Awesome.
I think it's a really amazing angle because you know, kids send all sorts of, they say all sorts of stuff in the letters.
They really do, and you know, some of them that I've personally handled were quite thick.
Yeah.
So it always piqued my interest as to, I wonder what they're asking him for.
Yeah, totally. I know some kids have a list that's so long. Other kids are just like, I just want this one thing. I don't know. It's very cute, you know?
Yes, it is.
That's what I think is like so magical about that place too, because those letters kind of show the dreaming and the childhood imagination and all those things, and that's the main theme of our movie, is that there aren't a ton of places where that's fostered, you know?
That's
so it's
true.
really amazing, and you got to hold on to the ones that do it.
Yep, that's very true, and you know, big thumbs up to the U.S. Mail for you know, making the magic happen, because they could easily as not just take those letters and put them somewheres, whether it be in the garbage or the landfill or recycling, and instead, I believe, according to what I was told, they have a list of where to send them.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
I believe, from what I was told when I was working for the mail, was that they have a list of 4 Santa's Workshop areas.
Oh, cool.
Because
so that's it. So Wilmington's been on the list forever.
Yes, Wilmington is first on the list, and I think there's one out in the Midwest of the United States. It's not called Santa's Workshop, North Pole, New York.
I think Holiday World is the one you're talking about.
Yep.
Indiana?
Yep, I believe so. And I think there's one in Alaska.
There's one in Alaska, and then there's also one in Colorado, which was an exact replica of Santa's Workshop. It's since changed, but if you Google the one in Colorado, the entrance is the same design.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then there was one in California that went under a while ago, like in the 90s, and they just raised all the money to bring it back this year. So it reopened. It's called Sky Forest.
Oh, well,
I think it's called Sky Forest at Santa's Village.
That's exciting. I think there was one in Texas as well that closed.
Yeah. I just know the ones that are still open, and there's those ones. But yeah, there used to be, when we were interviewing Bob Rice, I think he said there used to be
Yeah, there was a good handful of them. I mean, and that's only in the United States.
Right, of course.
But the one in Wilmington, Santa's Workshop, North Pole, New York, has gone through a lot of interesting and up and down years. But they've held on, and they're still open every year, and it's really cool to just walk through the park, because you really get that feeling that you're really somewhere very magical. You're somewheres that, from a child's eye all the way to somebody who's a great-great-grandmother can, just enjoy the time that they're there and soak it all in and realize that this is someplace really cool and really fun.
And really rare,
Yes.
And that's the feeling that we were, that's the feeling that we hope to capture with the film. That you can sort of feel the magic of what it's like to go there and how rare it is and all that.
Absolutely. Now, what inspired you to pick North Pole, New York, and how did you find out about it? Did you come up here, or how did this all start initially, before you even said, let's make a film about this? What made you?
I'm going to pass that over to Krista.
Okay.
I get to talk a little bit now. Well, Allie and I are huge fans of roadside attractions and theme parks and road trips. Whenever we get a chance to take a vacation, we want to jump in the car and drive somewhere and stop along the way at the unique places that we don't have in New York City where we live. I had never been to the Adirondacks before we came to visit Santa's Workshop and film. But as soon as we got to the mountains, I was, as every first-time visitor, I'm sure, to the Adirondacks, completely enchanted. And I'm from the West Coast. I'm from the Seattle area, and the mountains in Washington State, where I'm from, are very similar to the Adirondacks. So it really felt like home. So that's just like a little personal, thing about me. But Allie and I have been making films together for a very long time. I don't know, since 2004. So I don't know how many years that is, but it's a long time. And we've made a number of short films together. This is our first feature film. And when we were talking about the kind of feature documentary that we would like to make, we decided that we really needed to, because we're independent filmmakers, we don't, we have to make the film slowly as our budget allows, our small budget allows. So, and documentaries typically take 5 to 10 years to make, independent documentaries. So we knew that we needed to find a topic that we were willing to stick with for that long. And theme parks is definitely one of those topics. So Allie was doing some internet research and found a post on this site called Roadside America, which is a really fun and interesting website that you should check out. But Santa's Workshop had an entry on there, and we discovered that we lived a mere 6 hours away from one of the first theme parks in the United States, and we got really excited, wanted to visit, so we and possibly film. So we contacted Matt Stanley, who was the general manager of Santa's Workshop at the time, and we reached out to him, and we talked to the owner of the park, who also put us in touch with Bob Rice. And so and they were very, very sweet, and opened the doors to us and let us come up for a weekend, and we filmed for 2 whole days at the park, that first shoot, and we sat down with Matt Stanley and Bob Rice, and both of those interviews are actually in the film. They made the cut. So once we did those interviews and experienced Santa's Workshop, and we're in the Adirondacks for the weekend, we knew right away that we needed to make a feature-length film about this place, because it has such an amazing story. The people are so dedicated to Santa's workshop, and we wanted to, share that with people. And we knew that we needed to. We knew that we needed to film more, and for probably over several years to get the story right.
Well, the thing is, good things don't happen overnight, and
right.
For something to come together, it takes work, it takes dedication, and it takes time. And you both have put in all those. Like I said, from the clip that I've seen, I can't wait to see the rest of it, because it's going to be amazing to watch it. It's going to be great.
Oh, I'm so excited you say that.
And I like to hear the fact that the Adirondacks felt like home.
Yeah. It's a lot like Christmas home.
Yes. So right now you have a Kickstarter up to try and finish the filming.
Right.
Tell me about that.
Okay, yeah. So the Kickstarter is where we're at with the film is that we filmed it and we edited it. So we were doing fundraising parties this summer to finish the editing, and one of them was the one you went to in Upper J, where you saw the clip. And then now we're doing the Kickstarter campaign to raise the money for all the finishing costs, and we wanted to wait until the very end to do it, so that at the end of it, we would have the finished movie for people. So, Kickstarter, in case anyone doesn't know, Kickstarter is a crowdfunding site. So you put up a project. A lot of them are films, but there are other creative projects as well. So a lot of them are films, and you raise the money, and then whatever level people give at, they get a different reward. So for our campaign, at the $1 level, you'll get on Santa's Nice List. So everyone gets on Santa's Nice List. At the $10 level, it's a postcard from the North Pole. And then, we have digital download, 25, you get 40. So at all the different levels, you get all different things. And it's just a way to be able to have independent filmmakers be able to finish their films.
I think that regardless of if they get on the nice list with the first donation, or if they get the big donation, they're still going to get on the nice list for you.
Everyone gets on the nice list. So that one we put at the $1 level. So you're on the nice list no matter what you donate. And then if you donate more, there's all sorts of stuff all the way up to, we have a getaway package to the North Pole, which is 2 nights at the Hungry Trout and dinner at Art McDougal's and 4 tickets to the park. So we have big packages like that.
That's
at the higher level.
That's a great prize.
Yeah, we also have some memorabilia packages. So North Pole memorabilia, Frontier Town memorabilia packages. There's all sorts of stuff. You can get your name in the credits at the $100 level. So there's all different stuff, and it's amazing to us that there are options like this, because otherwise, independent films, this is how you're able to do it. So
absolutely, and they can be a part of history by, preserving this history that you have achieved. Like you said, with the old films and the old pictures and the family contacts that you've made,
right,
and also filming the park now,
right.
And you can compare to what has changed and what hasn't changed in the park, which
exactly.
It's very little. I mean, the changes over the years are so small that unless you look really hard, you can't see them. I think and it's a very small thing, and you'll probably laugh at this, but the music speakers that they use to play the music in the park,
right.
Those have got to be close to original.
Oh, really?
I mean,
oh, no way. I never really thought about that part.
I mean, if you look at them closely, they're not from today's technology.
Right.
I think their original ones were more like the open the open speaker style where there was no screen on them.
Yeah.
And
I know what you're talking about.
and they were having problems with like the birds making nests in them.
Right.
So they went to the ones that they have now, which are cool. And it's a very small thing, and it's kind of a very off-topic thing to say, but it's unique, and it never changes up there, and it gives you the feeling of, you know, you step in there and it's like, oh, this is so neat. Everything is just the way it was when I was here last, and that could have been you know, a year ago, or it could be for someone that hasn't been there since they were 12 years old, and now they're grown and have children of their own that they're taking there.
Right, exactly. And, you know, that's what we loved about it from the second we stepped foot on it. I think potentially, like for some people in the area, I wonder I mean, to us living here, it's like there's so many magical places up there, but for, you know, it might just be like, oh yeah, we have that up the street, but for you guys, but it's so uncommon to have something like that, to have something that historical and that's still going on. And so one of the big hopes for our film is that people will see it and realize like how important it is to preserve all these historical places.
Absolutely.
Whatever their equivalent of Santa's Workshop is in their community, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of a national treasure, so to speak, because
absolutely
it was, like you said, one of the first theme parks in the country, and it's still there, and it's still open, and it's very well preserved, and it's still relevant to the Christmas season. It's still, you know, in tune with everything.
It's still magic.
It is, and magic never goes away.
It doesn't. That's what's so cool about it.
Yep, it really doesn't. The link to your Kickstarter I will have with the video, but can you tell me what it is real quick for the people listening?
Yeah, let me. So it's if you go to our website, which is North Pole NY Film, all one, all lowercase, .com. It's the very first thing you'll see is a huge button that says, we're on Kickstarter. Go right now. Check out the video.
Perfect.
So NorthPoleNYFilm.com.
Excellent. That makes it easier than, you know, trying to find it on Kickstarter, because you got a direct link there for everyone who would be willing to make a donation to help you guys get the film finished and get it out to everyone that wants to see it.
Definitely. And it's the thing about Kickstarter is, so we just launched a week ago, and we're doing a 4-week campaign. So our campaign goes through November 15th.
No.
And Kickstarter is all or nothing. So we have to raise all of it. And the reason that we did it that way is that all the things that we have to do now, we have to have a finished film, because we're doing the sound mix and the mastering and everything. So if we don't raise all that, we won't have the money to finish the film. So that's what the Kickstarter is. And yeah, you can get there straight from our website. And not only donating, but also anyone just who can share it with any sort of group that they're a part of. The more people that see it, you know, the more likely we are to reach our goal in time.
Absolutely.
But the first week has been great, so we're off to a great start.
Excellent. Yes. You know, to share it with anyone that you can, that is great, and I encourage all of our listeners to go ahead and do that. And if you can make a donation to help them get this film finished, by all means do so, because it is a great film. And of course, we're on radio, so I can't really show you a clip, but you can. I think, do you have a sneak peek of it? Oh, you can.
We can send you. So there's a clip on the Kickstarter page that you can see, the trailer.
Okay.
And we can also send you a clip to put on your website.
Okay, excellent.
We can send you stills, the trailer, whatever you want for your website.
Okay.
So listeners can check it out.
We will. We can put that up there as well, so you guys can see that. But we'll also, you know, make sure and go check out their website and the Kickstarter page. And your website probably has some of the information as well throughout this adventure. I mean, do you have a blog set up or anything?
So we have it. We just You can also follow us on any of those. So everywhere, it's just North Pole NY Film. So it's NorthPoleNYFilm.com, and then it's Facebook /North Pole NY Film, Twitter /North Pole NY. You get the drill. North Pole NY Film. So
absolutely.
any of those, you can follow us, and we sort of do the blow by blow on there. And the Kickstarter campaign, we're shooting out weekly updates on there, so you can kind of learn what's going on. And yeah, hold on. Oh, here's Krista.
Oh, okay.
And something else that's been really fun is that we've put out a call for people to share their photos of themselves at Santa's workshop, and then we've been sharing them with our audience on Facebook for Throwback Thursday. So if people want to share their family photos from Santa's workshop from back in the day with us, we love to share it with the audience. It's been really fun and a fun way to engage people and bring up those memories, those great memories that they have of Santa's workshop. It's been really cool to see all those old photos.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we've learned a lot from people sending them in, because they'll tell us stories about when it was taken. So it's really cool, the Throwback Thursday thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is something that, like you said, gets everybody involved, and it's really cool to involve the everyday person with their memories, because it can bring up memories for other people and encourage them to share, or just encourage them to talk about, a memory that they had.
And that's kind of an amazing thing that's happened really organically on our Facebook page. People will post photos, and then other people will be like, oh, this is me here, me in the same location, like that same year. I mean, it's really cool to see everyone interacting on the Facebook page like that. So, yeah, there's lots of cool stuff on there.
That's the fun part.
Someone every week, so.
Yeah, that's the real fun part, is when you can take like an original photo from the first year they were open, and you have people that can replicate that picture, because that just shows not only the history of the park, the importance of preserving history, but you can see that it's pretty much the same park it was from 1949, and it just, like I said, it doesn't change, and some people say change is good, but in this instance, I don't think it is, because to step into the park and experience it the way it is, you just can't get anything better than that. And it's one of those things where we could talk about it all evening, but if you haven't been there, you have to go experience the park for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely agreed.
Because let's see if my North Pole memory is good here. I mean, you walk up the hill and you come into the park through the train station, which is very relevant, because you could arrive by train to the North Pole in the magical sense. Because there's not a lot of ways to get to the North Pole, so to speak, other than up the Veterans Memorial Highway, of course, in real life, but in the magical sense. And the first thing you see is the train. It's sitting there, ready to board. You have Mother Hubbard's Cupboard, which is the restaurant. And you can see a few of the rides there. I think there's the Christmas tree ride, which has the bulbs for where you sit, and there's the toboggan ride. And as you go down, there's the beautifully restored carousel ride.
Yeah, we love the carousel.
That's just. That's a very rare thing to even see nowadays, is a carousel, and something of that age and so beautifully preserved. And
we learned that's one of the few Christmas carousels in the whole world, actually. While filming, we learned that.
I believe that because I don't believe there's many. And then, of course, you start working your way down. One of the most iconic photograph spots is with the I think they're made out of concrete, the reindeer and the sleigh. You know, I mean, just the number alone of how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of children and people that have probably stood there and taken pictures with those.
Definitely.
And then, of course, there's the North Pole barn where all the reindeer are. And of course, they have a built-in nightlight with Rudolph in there. And then you have the pageant area where they put on the shows.
And don't forget Tannenbaum, the talking Christmas tree.
Nope.
That's one of my favorites.
Can't forget that. Then usually Tannenbaum has quite the personality.
Yeah, for sure.
And down in the lower part of the village, you have Jack Sprat's, you have the hat makers, you have the candy shop, you have the
candles. Yep.
Yep.
Candy shop, the hat shop.
And there's the candle shop, and the toy making shop.
Toy shop. I love the toy shop.
Yeah, that's pretty cool too. And then, of course, I mean, we can't forget Santa's house.
Well, that's the main event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
with this plush carpet inside and all the hand carved wood and the stone fireplace. I mean, it's
a pretty cool house.
It really is, and it's just a beautiful place. It really is, and what better place to be than Santa's?
It's true. And, you know, having filmed in Santa's house for a while, you know, we filmed a lot of kids going through, it's like the amazement on kids' faces when they go in there. I mean, they're just totally in it. They're in Santa's house. You know, to them, there's sort of no separation between, they're just in a total fantasy world, you know, and that's really cool to see. And, again, really rare.
Yes, very true, because a lot of places that you can go and visit, you know, it's treated kind of like museum, where oh no, you can't go in there because that's Santa's private house. You can't go in there.
Right.
But here, you know, you can go right in and see him and see, you know, his living room and his kitchen and everything in the house. And it's just really cool. I mean, I guess the only word we keep going back to is it's magical.
It is.
Now, before I guess we try and wrap this up, can we talk a little bit about both of your history growing up with Christmas, or where you're from and where you're originally from?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm originally from New Jersey, so not that far away. And I mean, the reason I wanted to make this movie is when I was a kid, you know, if we ever went anywhere, it was just in New York and New Jersey to these theme parks. Like, that's where we would go if it was like a weekend trip or whatever. So, you know, my whole childhood was spent going to these small, family-owned type theme parks. So that's why I have a real, like, place in my heart for all these kind of places. And that's, you know, that's what I love about it. And then I'm going to pass it over to Krista.
Okay.
Yeah, and for me, I'm from the Pacific Northwest, but I actually grew up in Arizona until I was 12. And we would go on road trips for our vacations. We went camping a lot in the mountains of Arizona. And there's this really wonderful old mining town called Jerome, Arizona, that we used to go every year. And there's, you know, it was, you know, it was like Western theme. I mean, it is actually an old mining town that's been turned turned into a tourist attraction since the mines have been shut down for several decades. But that was a place that we could go and just use our imaginations. It was really super fun. And then, of course, I went to Disneyland when I was a kid a couple of times on a road trip, and that was really fun too, to be immersed in like the rides and be in a space that is built for kids, which is something that people that we interviewed for the film talked about this over and over again, that Santa's Workshop and the Land of Make-Believe and all of the parks that Ardo designed throughout the Adirondacks are really designed to be for a kid and enjoyed from a kid's perspective. But of course, adults can enjoy them too, but that was, when I stepped into Santa's Workshop, I mean, sadly, I was not able to experience the Land of Make-Believe in person, but when I stepped into Santa's Workshop, I really felt that. I felt like this is a space where you can play and, you know, re-experience your childlike wonder.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think Ardo tried to carry that in all of his designs that he did for the children, because if you don't have the curiosity and the fun and the make believe, so to say, then you don't have much. So you have to you have to incorporate all that. And Ardo did a wonderful job with his part at Santa's Workshop. And I mean, he listened to Mr. Rice and he sketched it out, and he actually built down to scale models like a foot tall of some of the buildings, if not maybe all of the buildings. I'm not 100% sure if he did them all or not, but
so that's something else that Bob Rice gave us when we started working. We have the original sketches, some of them are in the movie, and we sort of matched them up to how they turned out, and they look almost exactly just like his little sketch. It's amazing.
Yep, and that's how he did the Land of Make-Believe too. He made a sketch and he looked at the guys and said, build it just how it looks.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm sure he had some of them scratching their head, because it's like, well, the wall's not straight. How am I?
That's what makes it like handmade, right? I like that part.
Yeah, but normally when you contact like a carpenter and you say, I want to build a building, everything has to be level, everything has to be plumb, everything so it don't fall down.
Right.
So more engineering went into building the whimsical than just a regular old structure, because you had to make it stay standing and stay upright, and at the same time the walls are like leaning out like the building's gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
So it was the easy part, I think, was putting it on paper, and then the hard part was actually making them build the buildings as he drew them. And you have to give them credit as well, because they did it just how it was on paper.
For sure.
Or pretty darn close.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they all look totally whimsical. They totally pulled it off.
So, all right. Well, just to wrap up, it's NorthPoleNewYorkFilm.com.
North Pole NY, just NY.
NorthPoleNY.com. Okay.
And something I meant to say about the Kickstarter campaign that we're doing right now, just to wrap up, it goes till November 15th. And the thing that's really cool about it is that everyone who donates, who does those rewards, they're going to be the first people to get the film. So when it premieres, then we send it straight out to them. So I think that's pretty cool, because it's like, that's how it should be.
Awesome.
They're helping us finish it, they'll get it first.
Now,
so that's the plan.
One more point before we go. You're going to have a couple places that you're premiering the film. Do you have those locked down yet?
So we are right now submitting to festivals, and once we find out when the premiere is, then we're going to schedule a screening up in the Adirondacks. So we're planning that, but we don't have the dates just yet.
Okay.
But you will be the first to know, right here on the radio.
Oh, okay, excellent.
So for now, the quickest way is the Kickstarter, but we'll have information about that in the coming months as well.
Well, that'll be good because it gives people other options as well. If they wanna see the film like in a theater, to have
a big screen experience for sure.
Yeah, exactly, and especially hosting one up here in the Adirondacks, it's going to give a chance for the locals who, oh yeah, North Pole is just up the road from me, to be able to see it on the big screen and go, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, so we're working on that right now. It's too soon to talk about it, but we are talking to some people up there about the possibilities of where we can screen it. So, yeah, we'll have more news on that soon.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for
Thank you so much.
sitting down and doing this, and we'll be talking to you soon, I think, with some more dates on release and when it's going to premiere up here in the mountains.
Definitely, we can't wait.
All right.
Thank you so much. This has been great. Awesome.
You're welcome. This is Whispering Adirondacks Radio on Adirondack Attractions and Adirondack Lifestyle and Living.
In the Adirondack countryside on Whiteface Mountain in New York State is a setting as enchanting as any storybook land of fairy tales. This is the location of North Pole, New York, the home of Santa Claus and his workshop.
My family has been going to Santa's workshop, the North Pole, since basically day one of the park, 3 generations.
I love to watch the adults that were here as children now bringing back their children and grandchildren and just reliving it all through their eyes.
For children especially, they're just a little window of time when you believe and everything is magic. And that's what Santa's workshop is.
They go home and say, I know Santa Claus. I've been there. I've seen his reindeer. He's real.
And even as you got older, you believed in Santa Claus a whole lot longer, having been at the North Pole, Santa's workshop. Nobody in the world could have told me there wasn't a Santa Claus.
That place has something to it that you really can't explain it unless you go there in person. You can't find it anyplace else in the world besides that place.
I think it was a real shock for the community when the very real possibility existed for the first time that the place may close and not reopen. This whole area has a history of popular old theme parks closing up.
Santa's workshop was the first of its kind in the nation, and it's the last of its kind in the Adirondacks.
Our audience is shrinking. Kids used to believe longer 50 years ago.
What might have worked for a 13-year-old back in 1952 now works for a 5 or 6-year-old.
All of us who are here for the love of it. It's definitely not to get rich. The cost of our staff with benefits and the year-round staff is about 60% of our gross income. Any company should be closed at that rate. So it's tough.
Santa's workshop has never really wanted to grow, because what do you do? How do you grow without putting a roller coaster in? What does a roller coaster have to do with Christmas? Well, what does a water park have to do with Christmas?
If Santa's workshop were to ever close, I'd feel like I'd lost a family member. They really give you the spirit of Christmas where you can't buy that.
Santa's workshop itself links us to an important time in history. Because it hasn't changed, it links us to the past. It's still there. It's still magic.
And I mean, it's a treasure that I want to try to keep here forever. As long as I'm breathing, I'm going to try to keep it that way.
We're in danger as a society and as a generation of not having to imagine anymore. And I don't think there's anything more magical than a 4-year-old's imagination.